The world is in a massive transition. Are you prepared? Hi, I'm Rev Tracy L, and I am here to help you navigate through these uncharted waters. Many experts told me it was not possible to repair, regenerate, and restore my body. I proved them all wrong. Isn't it time for you to reclaim what is rightfully yours? If your answer is yes, then I invite you to join me while I will help you embrace the new earth and unlock your unlimited potential. Let's connect every Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, right here on the Tracy L Clark Show, as featured on Transformation Talk Radio. The old ways of connecting are done, so let's embrace together the new and unleash the superhuman within.
We are so excited to have you here today. We have a special guest with us. As always, we are here to help you learn, help you grow, help you shift, especially now during these challenging times. As you know, sometimes you can feel like the world's a little bit upside down, but always remember we are moving to something much better. And to do that, we have to crumble the old to bring in the new. We can't run and make something new on an old foundation. So that is what is happening. And I know as we get into the fall, there's a lot of uneasiness, a lot of uncertainty when you're looking at your children, how to parent them. And that's why you need to stay tuned. Stay tuned. We love and value all of you, our new listeners, no matter where you come from. I know we're on 90 outlets around the world. So wherever you come from, we are so appreciative of you. Now, quickly, if you haven't picked up my 31 Days of Prayer book, we have the book launch on this Thursday, 7 p.m. It's free. Come and join us. People are loving the prayer book, loving it. And we have a special for you too, because we all need a lot of prayers right now. But what we're also going to be doing on Thursday is a lot of world prayers. The world needs a lot of prayers. So we're going to be channeling a bunch. I've got chills talking about it, thinking about it. And there's nothing better than the more people that come together to put our intentions, to put our heart space. That's how we really start to create change. It's great. We've got to keep speaking up into your truth. And remember, that might be different from somebody else's. We create a space that is non-judgmental, where you're allowed to voice, we just say, with kindness and compassion and understanding that you may be further awake or aware than somebody else. So we are just moving through this little boat. I say we're in the boat together. We all, we're pulling people into the boat. We're just bringing things back to a new foundation. So please do not worry. Do not fret. And if you're feeling challenged to make a decision, remember, there's a lot of confusing information out there. So just take a step back. Enjoy our show today. It is not a call-in show because you're going to love our guests. If you are a parent or have been a parent, we're going to be doing a show with children. But we have Dr. Julia with us today. She has been a psychologist for over 20 years. I love her. I had the pleasure of meeting her, I think, well over about a year and a half ago. And what her expertise is on parents. She has such a full practice. I have chills telling you guys this. She's written 2 great books as well. She's going to talk about all of this. But like me, she has a practice that is got a fairly long wait list. And why I'm so excited she's here now today, because we planned this show a long time ago and God's timing couldn't have been better, is she's also created programs to help parents because she realized her mission was much bigger than just being able to do the one-on-ones. Now, it doesn't mean she doesn't like having her one-on-ones like I did. I was in the same boat. But with the times changing, we've all had to pivot and move and shift so we can help more people. So parents, this is where you want to tell all your friends, if they've missed the show, to get on the replay, understand we're going to talk about things you can do, things she sees with all the parents that she's dealt with in the past and moving forward. And we're not taking a break this hour. So you're going to have 100% of Miss Julia. So I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you. Thank you. Right off the bat, Tracy, thank you so much for having me here. You are, there's no words. You're amazing. You're phenomenal. You are here to really change the world. And we're just so blessed to have you. So thank you
Well, I'm blessed that spirit puts you in my path, because unlike traditional psychologists, which we love them all too, you are so aware and so open and so connected. And this is what really makes you stand out. And what was your little moment where you realized, because you get energy, you understand looking at different perspectives, you understand doing your inner work, and you take your clinical background and you actually also understand how to meld the two. What was the point in your career where you really went, oh my gosh, these are such a harmonious space of being?
Totally. That's a great question, actually. Yeah, I think it was about 7 years ago, I guess. And I started to fall into the world of tapping. And I found that to be fascinating. People were telling me about it here and there, and I was like, okay, this is interesting. Of course, it's been around longer than 7 years, but for me, that's when it was introduced. And then this whole world of energy and healing started coming through. So programs like through Mind Valley Academy and things like that were sort of on my radar, and energy healing and really accessing sort of our spiritual system. Right. And being South Asian, I guess there's something ancestral within me as well in terms of bringing that side of the world back to now. And so, yeah, it's just, we're all connected, all came together for me as I was practicing and realizing that bringing in these alternative perspectives was creating like up levels for my clients and for me in ways that I couldn't do just using strict psychotherapy. Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I love that, because it's so true. I always say that if the world could get on integrative, I call it integrative medicine, but integrative healing, integrative restoration in body, soul, mind, spirit, like everything. So we have every component from our doctors to psychologists to energy, all working together. That what a boost we get in the whole world, and how quickly people could heal things and repair things of traumas and depressions and medical issues. That's why I get so excited when I look at someone like you.
No, it's incredible, right? I love it. And I was, even as a psychologist, I wouldn't even like stick to one type of therapy. I'd be like integrating the different aspects of the different therapies. So I've always been sort of integrative, and this was just like one more thing to add in, right? The energetic holistic world. So yeah.
Well, that's why you have such a wait list, and I commend you for that. But I also understand that's why we're making many changes. And I know we're going to talk about that later in the show, but your focus is parents, and parents. Oh, my kids are older, but as parent, and your children are older, you also have very intuitive children, very intuitive family. As parents, I think there's a lot of, this has been a really tough year and a half. I would love to know, what are you seeing as a common theme with parents that you're working with right now in the world?
Totally. What's interesting is the overwhelm, obviously, with COVID-19 and everything that's been happening, and all the unknown, right? It's always been there, but it's so exaggerated now, right? It's so extreme that like nothing is known, it feels like, right? Not even school.
Nothing.
Which seems insane. Like, well, no, September, that's when school is. That's just like, it's a given. We know that's when things turn, but is it? And that's what's happening. So in addition to parenting, I've always done fertility work as well. And when you're dealing with infertility, it's highly traumatic. All it is being out of control and learning to navigate the unknown. So what we're doing, at least with my clients, I'm moving them through in a similar way that I worked with fertility clients, to bring them to a state of sort of stability and grounding by using the same sort of formulas, right, or techniques to help the parents now. So the biggest theme that I'm seeing with the parents right now is, yes, how do I plan for tomorrow when we can't, right? And how do I get over that high level distress, right, that my system is feeling, which is now making me more irritable with my kids, which obviously they don't want to be doing.
It's that space. What I see a lot in the world, and tell me if you see it, it's just everything feels out of control. And we love to be as humans in control, but for the first time, like normally you could, in control could be substituting it with food or an addiction or whatever people want to do to make them feel in control. But being out of control now, because everything in life, it's like, what can you control? Is your work's changing, the rules are changing, maybe your school is changing, like all of that space. What's something that you like to suggest to people that you work with when they're really feeling out of control? Because it's like what you say, what I find is their nervous systems, because they're feeling out of control, are getting even more stressed, which then creates those explosions, but it's also leading to other health problems too. So when you're seeing this with your clients, what kind of things do you like to suggest to them? Say like, I know the world's out of control, because this is a whole new level out of control for everyone. This is not like normal stress. I don't know, my relationship, my family, like those have been kind of normal stresses. And like you said, it's heightened so much now that they all got to look inside because it's so out of control.
Totally. And that's the key, right? So it is looking internally rather than externally for things. And there's a few things that we can control, right? The biggest one is our own breath. And breath work is a huge thing now, and for good reason, honestly. Like, it's not just a buzzword. It's a really phenomenal process because it's not only spiritual, but it's physiological, right? So it has a huge impact, and there's such brilliant, brilliant sort of practitioners that do breath work and teach breath work out there. It's definitely worth looking into, but starting with a simple 5-second inhale and a 5-second exhale, right? A nice slow inhale and exhale, just 10 times, goes so far. It is incredible, right? And that's just about the simplest of all the breath, right?
It's interesting that people forget, and they do when they get stressed, they forget to breathe. But then we take our breath so for granted. Without your breath, you're done. But we take it so for granted, just I think we take our hands for granted, our feet, that we can get out of bed. For a lot of us, like, talk to someone who doesn't have them and had to learn different, right?
Really?
And it's extremely important, extremely important. I think with the inner work, don't you find that people are afraid to do their inner work because they are so afraid that now they have to be accountable and that unknown?
Totally. Yeah. Inner work is very, like you said, scary, right? It's,
Oh yeah.
it's
not
like,
it's
why
not
would I go there? Right. Why would I do that? I have people, are like, if it ain't broke, why fix it? I'm like, ain't it broke? Like, maybe, and broke's not a helpful word, but, doesn't it need healing? Right. And so the inner work, and it's interestingly enough, even doing the breath work is inner work, right?
100%.
But to me, that's just this beautiful door. It's like, okay, this is doable. So even clients who are really, really in fear state, I can sit with them in session or in a group setting, and we can do the breathing, and they can feel the effects right then. And then they can go home and they can do it twice a day. That's all I want, right? A couple times a day. And that's the entry point into doing the inner work. And so we don't have to dive right into like doing serious inner child work, which I love, but you don't have to do that right off the bat. You can start with these baby steps in there that still have profound effects.
Well, I think that that's one of the things that people also shy away from, that they don't understand, is that just connecting to who they are again. Like, so often everything's projected externally, right? And then everything they feel externally is affecting internally. So now they don't even know who they are. I'm sure you must see that a lot. They don't know who they are. They don't know what they like. They don't know who they like. They don't know, if they, in all areas of life, like, you must come across that a fair bit.
Completely. Yeah. The good news in terms of people who come to me, by the time they come to me, they're aware of that they've lost themselves. Right. So that's a good thing, because it's like, at least they're one step closer to being aware. There's so many people in the world who aren't aware yet. And that's okay. Like you said, some people are not on the same place in the path. Right. So, but those who enter into my office, right, are usually like, I'm lost, or a big one is, I don't know what's wrong with me. I used to be able to handle all of this, and now I can't.
That must be, and that's a big point of shame for people, right? Because like you said, I could shoulder all this. Whether you're a male or female, a lot of people are like, I can handle it. And then all of a sudden there's that, well, what is wrong with me because I can't handle it? And I think that's the narrative that has to shift, that nothing wrong with you. There's only really, so much we can handle at points, and we all need communities of people. And that's what I like what you're doing, is you're building a community of parents, a community of people that have had fertility problems, whatever place they're on, the community to say, hey, it's okay to say I can't handle something.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah. So the community is something that has not been emphasized in the past, right? And I think that's one thing, or not one thing, but one of the things that the pandemic has brought is people globally together, because literally it affected the entire world. So like all coming together with finally, like we have something in common, which is not a good way to find it, but it's a way that has brought us together, right? And when we start to break those down into smaller groups, so parents, so the parenting groups that I do, it has really opened people's eyes to the fact that they're not actually alone.
Yeah.
Right. So even though some of the stuff we talk about in group has nothing to do with the pandemic, right? It's bringing like, wow, you're going through this too, right? Or your child is freaking out every morning as well, right? And you don't know what to do with yourself, and so these are things that are like, so it's brought when they would never have bothered had the pandemic not hit, right? They're finding that they're able to now connect and see great healing because of it.
Well, I think that's important, because we need to be able to realize that other people go through this. I think that's the biggest challenge that people have, is like, I really believe energetically, when I look at this, where this comes from is, that old work mentality, and it's been seeded for many, many years, where it's like, okay, you come to work, you leave everything at the door. Don't let anyone know you have an issue, a problem, like you're here to do your job, So, and then over time, employers are realizing that, okay, wait a minute, people are going to die, people are going to go through divorce, they're going to have illness, and you can't just turn them into robots. Like they can't go in the door and be robots. But there's that imprinting that comes. It's like, if I do say, like, is anyone else going through this? Is there that weakness, and is there that, shame behind it? And I think it's beautiful that, yes, over the last while, people are realizing that it's okay to say, hey, has anyone else got this experience? Anyone?
Totally.
Like it's really, really needed. What do you find some of the biggest schools coming up? What do you say with the parents that you've been interacting with or you're seeing? What are some of this? I'd love to hear some of this, maybe the concerns they have, and maybe some of the things that have come out, what you're noticing that we can help maybe these parents navigate through what's coming up this fall. Because I think it's pretty tough as a parent from many levels.
Totally. So I will be doing a deeper dive on this at a webinar, a free webinar I'm doing it in September 13th. So if they want to, September 13th. Just so I want school to just get started and then kind of help, because otherwise it's kind of chaotic. So I'll tell you about that.
Yeah. So okay, let's tell them now. So, and then I want to hear.
Okay. So basically, if they email me, I think is the best way right now, and then I can send them the links and all of that. But if they email me at drjuliasenparenting@gmail.com. So it's just DRJULIASEN parenting@gmail.com. And then just say, hey, interested in your webinar, I'll send them the details. Is the easiest.
Put the links below too. So guys, when you see this again, we'll make sure that Julia gives us, so you guys can get on the webinar, because I think it's really, really important. Okay, so for now, for now, for now, webinar, because what you see is happening. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. So for right now, the reason it's so important to actually make sure that we are helping parents navigate school right now is that it's now a bit of a trauma, right? Last year you went in, or was it, I'm losing track of time, but all of last year, you're going in hoping it's gonna work, it's gonna be okay again, right? Hoping everything will be normal, hoping, wishing, expecting, and then every time there's a new drop. Oh no, what? It's changing. Oh my God, we're closing again. We're opening. We're closing. We're wearing masks. We're not. We're getting tested. We're not. I mean, it was so chaotic, right? For everybody, the children, the parents, that it leaves an imprint in the physiological system, right? Our neurological system is literally like jittery like this. So there's this trauma response that we're starting to have now as we are anticipating school coming in, right? And honestly, even this week, I think parents are starting to feel it, but everybody's in a bit of avoidance, actually, like, no, school's not coming, like nothing's happening yet. But it's coming, irrelevant, it's coming. And so they are going to be experiencing these sensations. So I want to normalize that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's really, really important to recognize that we've been through a traumatic experience with this, with the up and down and the unknown, right? So if you're feeling this sense of anxiety, this sense of dread, this sense of uneasiness, like, it's okay. And I'll talk to you about what you can do about it. But I want to normalize, there's nothing wrong with you, right? It's really, really normal after what we've been through.
Well, remember too, like when we used to go to school, I remember when school would start, I wouldn't sleep for a couple days before. I'd be anxious, like just normally, not with all this other garbage going on. I would be like, oh my gosh, who's class? What teacher? Who are my friends going to be in my class? Like normal kid stuff, right? And you'd be like, you'd have to, do I have all my supplies? What if my mom forgot something? Do I have the right clothes as you get older? Because then the kids would bug you. Like I grew up in a family where my mom had to make my clothes. So people bugged me because that was just the fact we had. We couldn't have all those things other kids had. So, but those were normal kind of stressors as children that we saw a lot of anxiety already coming in. So like what you're saying now, exactly. Oh, we're in school for a week. We're not in school. Oh, you need a mask. You don't need a mask. Oh, you're going to have to do this. Oh, you don't have to do this. Oh, you like, it's just, I love what you said that we kind of got to teach people, you sort of got to go through it, flow with it, and realize that it's like, I always see it like a water slide, and there is an exit out of this. There is a tunnel that's has a big pool into the vast ocean where everything's going to come to truth and alignment to ease this. But what do you suggest to the parents? I know they're going to hear a lot more in the webinar, guys. You want to sign up for this, but what do you suggest for some of them now? Just are maybe prepping before the September 13th and they're feeling in this limbo, or what could they maybe do? Or
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. So first off, when you feel the sensations, I'm not saying if, when, right? When you feel the sensations, right off the bat, the compassion, you talked about compassion in the beginning, compassion towards yourself, right? Wow, this is really hard. Yeah. Right. I'm feeling really unnerved right now. I'm feeling really irritable right now. I'm feeling really, exhausted right now. Whatever that might be, validate yourself first.
Right? I love that. Speak it out loud, guys. It's really important.
Totally. Yeah. And then from there, now you've named it, right, with compassion. Now I want you to do the breathing, actually, right? Because what we want to do is start to calm the system. So when we do a 5-second inhale and a 5-second exhale, just 10 times, we start to communicate to the brain, hey, you know what? Even though it feels like it's unsafe, we're still okay right now, right? So, because our brain like links to that sensation, and our brain's like, oh no, we're going to die, right? And in this moment, we're not, right? In this very moment, we're not. And so, but our threat system from the old caveman days is like, it's still there. It's going to be there. We're not getting rid of that. So we have to help it understand that actually no tigers are coming out at us right now, right? So even though I'm feeling like there are, because I'm anticipating this dread of school, the brain's going to be like, does this mean there's a tiger? And we're going to say, I know it feels like that. I get it. I get why you're doing that. And we don't need to. So let's breathe and bring our system down. And the trick to that, right, is to recognize that the brain is going to say, why is she breathing so slowly? If there was a real threat, we would never do that, right? And so now we're helping the brain realize, in fact, you're not in threat. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. 100%. It's like, because when we start to calm that system down, it's not scanning for the threat. And that's exactly what you're saying. It's sort of, how everybody's always living in the future, the next day, what's going to come in 6 months. And I love this exercise, because what I also keep saying, I'm in total agreement with you here, is we got to just focus on exactly today. We got to focus right now. Like we have to focus right now. If we don't focus on the right now, then this whole coulda, shoulda, what you don't know, because we don't know. Like if you look at the last year and a half, nobody's certain. No one has that exact crystal ball that can tell you that in 3 months you've got this, or 4 months you got this. So when you bring it back to the now, like you said, okay, I'm in my house. All right, I'm okay. All right, my child's okay.
Exactly.
And then that also shifts the energy perspective and the energy that we're contributing to the world.
Totally. Yes, completely. Right. Like by calming our system down, yeah, energetically, we're not putting out this vibration that looks like this, which then affects, as a parent, our children. Right. So my big thing with parents is really to help, honestly, to help us calm our systems, so that our children then vibrate to us, because that is the power of the parent, whether we like it or not. And I say this all the time, whether we like it or not, we have this power. And so if we can calm our system down, our children naturally resonate to us.
Well, I always find it interesting when parents are like, my cat is so out of control. I don't know what to do with my cat. And they're sitting there screaming. And I'm like, well, they're just doing what you're doing.
That's
I want that. And I'm like, but it goes back to exactly what you're saying. They pick up the energy. So if they pick up, the parent is calm and the parent is safe and the parent has them. Because I think that's the biggest thing too, that parents, if they can start to understand, right? That if the parent has that energy, then the child can feel less anxious. And then the child can be free to speak about what's going on with them and could make an easier transition.
Totally, exactly. And let's remember, even if I'm calm, it doesn't mean my child won't have a reaction.
Correct.
It's the response after that they'll slowly regulate more quickly, than the other, right? Because they're going to ultimately connect to our vibration and then start to. Whereas if we see them, they react like normal, any child would react to anything, and then we react to them, we're now both going up, and into that distress state, and no one is calming down, and then we get the chaos, right?
It's sort of like that. Do you remember when your kids were little and they would like wipe out on their bike or whatever? I'd see other kids with, and the parents like, oh my god, and then the kids like, oh, and they would scream forever. My younger one, she was always playing. She was the kid that was like out with the worms, out on her skateboard. She's like a little tomboy, and she'd fall down. And she'd look at me and I'm like, okay, let's get up. Oh, we got a little booby there. Like, let's just get that little scrape cleaned up and and we made Band-Aids fun and we had way less crying. And so it's the same sort of energy, but she would always, those kids will look at you. It's like, what's your reaction going to be? If I get it, then I'm going to cry, scream more. Right.
Exactly. What I loved what you said though, was that you balance being kind and aware of the boo-boo or the cut, like it was, you didn't just ignore and say, I toughen up. You balance both, right? You're like, okay, well, that might have hurt, right? Let's fix it up and then move on. Like, so you did this beautiful, and that's the key, right? Because sometimes we have people think we have to go to the other extreme. I'm going to be neglecting my child. No, it's not like that. We're acknowledging without the energetic, so yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I always say I feel blessed in a way that I don't have little kids anymore, because it is different. Well, it's different because when I look and I go, wow, my kids didn't grow up with cell phones in their hands. Like they didn't really have cell phones until they were in their late teens. Right. So it was probably grade 9 in there, grade 9, grade 10 is when they became a little bit more popular. But I'm like, wow, we had a little bit of social media, but not like now, so I was just, now I look at all that and I'm like, wow, parents really, my hat's off to all the parents that have young children and teenagers, because I know it's a challenging time. And I know that we're just sort of going, I know for me, I don't wish years away, but I have kind of wished that this year would be over. I know there's lots of cool things coming. I feel confident in that. But as a parent, I'd be like, oh my gosh, school is coming. And again, like, I think there's got to be a lot of unsettled energy in parents, because look at how their last year and a half had been very disrupted. So not only where they're going to work, but now I'm taking care of a child, so I have another stress. And computer learning for children, we all know they fall asleep in 2 minutes. You and I fall asleep, like we're like all day, unless you're moving shift in and you're in something really cool. all day doing the same thing at a work environment can get pretty boring. So even for teachers, like how do they navigate, right?
Totally. Totally. Exactly. Yes. It is not ideal in any way. And yeah, that is one of the biggest complaints I hear from the parents with young children is I've got them over here on the computer. I'm trying to work over here, right? And this kid just keeps coming up to me in the middle of meetings and hello, mommy, or daddy, I need this, I need that. And obviously that's very disruptive.
Yeah.
But the child's there. Of course, they're going to come up to you, right? So what I have parents doing now is you're going to go up to them before the child comes up to you, so that you are giving them like a hug or just, hey, how's it going? It takes like 30 seconds. You can plan it with your work schedule thing. And then you're sort of preempting and that way avoiding the need of that, refill from the child from you because you're there. So
I love that. So go to your child as soon as they're coming in the room, or if you can.
if you can anticipate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
Like I have some scheduling in every 30 minutes. They just head over there. Right.
Yeah.
So,
and I think kids right now do need they need a lot more cuddles. They need a lot more understanding the normal, like in normal past times. I don't know if that was normal, but past times, because they are sensitive and their whole little worlds don't make sense because we had systems and now there's no systems.
Totally. Exactly. And this is where it's so challenging, right? Because as a parent, there's no system for us either. Like at the end of the day, we're all human, right? So that's where this has been so incredibly difficult. And to speak to what you said before, which I loved, was we didn't grow up with parents who had to deal with cell phones and technology and all that vibration and who knows what it's doing to us, right? All that stimulation. So there's an extra layer of depletion happening to our children and us that didn't have to be navigated before. Because I do have some parents who are like, oh, well, my mom did it, or my dad did it, my parents did it, like, yeah, they did it and they did great, if that's what you're feeling right now. And they didn't have to deal with this layer. Forget about the pandemic. They didn't have to deal with the technology layer, right?
Yeah, which is a huge layer, isn't it? Because it's a big layer of distraction. And like even when we were little, what would we do? We would play go out and play. Our parents would go to work and they come home, but a lot of times they were very, very busy too, right? Like they had things in their gardens they were doing, or, we grew up with farmers. So, they were always in the field, the hard work. They were tired at the end of the day. There wasn't time to just sit around and watch 8 hours of Netflix and be on your phone all day long. And now with the video games, and I can't even imagine what that's like for parents. Cause I can tell you, my first business that I sold in 96 was a video store. And after I sold it, my kids obviously got a little bit older. So when they were 5 and 3, or no, it was before my divorce, so probably a little bit younger, my older daughter said I wanted like a Nintendo. So I'm like, oh, I don't know. I've seen what those kind of do. And they just come in at that time, right? So I rented one. Well, that thing I had for 3 days, I took it back the very next morning. I couldn't get them to come to dinner. I couldn't get them to listen. That was way back in 2000. It was 20 years ago. And I was like, that's it. If you go to a friend's house, you want to play, that's fine. But I had lost my kids. So I remember that so clearly that, and then as soon as I got rid of it, they got back to playing, they got back to coloring and drawing and baking and running and biking and being with their friends. I look at that now and I'm like, I don't know how parents navigate that.
Yeah, it's very, very challenging. And I'm not against technology in any way, right? I actually think there's some beauty to all of it, right? And like, we can't do this, right? Listen, we love this, right? This is amazing to be able to even have a Zoom chat like this. So it's awesome. Yeah. I think that with parents, what I would sort of say, especially if you have young kids, just you set the limits. Right. And use it to help you too. Like, look, if you need to cook dinner and you just can't deal with the child coming at you, then watch TV. It's okay. Let them watch TV, but it shouldn't be 8 hours, like you said, right? Like because you can set those limits, and if you're fair about it, right? Yeah. And you're okay with saying no in a kind way and still being okay with them being upset a little bit, right? Yeah. That's one of the biggest pieces where we fail and technology takes over.
Talk about that for a minute for parents that may go, what does that mean? Saying, I know what you're saying, but I can tell a lot of people are like, what does she mean by that? When you say saying no in a kind way.
Yeah, totally.
What's an example of how you would say that for parents that don't go, how do I?
Totally. Okay. So let's say you've given the child an hour of television, you told them, okay. And now the hour's coming up and you know that it's supposed to turn off, but of course they're going to ask for more. Okay. Because they're going to, that's just the truth. Right. So, you're like, okay, it's 5 minutes, we're turning off the television. Oh, please, one more show, right? One more, right? Or one more, whatever video game, doesn't matter. One more, a little bit more, right? And now we have to say no. So we can just say straight up, no, we told you an hour, that's it, we're done, right? And of course, now you're going to get a huge tantrum, is guaranteed, right? So there's a unpleasantness in my voice because I'm irritated that you're not following through with what we agreed on. And there's all of this going on. And now the child is resonating to your unpleasant energy because you're not pleased, right? Because you made a deal, but they're kids and they're in it and they're going to ask for more. That's just what's going to happen, right? So from the parent side, what we want to do is shift into the no being, hey, honey, I get you really want to watch more, right? Like understand their perspective, stand in their shoes. Of course, they're going to want more. Like, I don't know one kid that's not going to try at least for a little bit more.
We all did. We just got the food.
Exactly, because they're in the zone of whatever they're in. So they're just like, we want more. It's, I mean, call it an addiction or not, it doesn't matter. They just want a little bit more. So if we, as the parent, can sort of walk in expecting this, right? Rather than wishing for the alternate, which is this perfect little, oh, sure, no problem, mommy, right? Or daddy, like instead walk in with, honey, I get it. I know you really want to, watch more, right? And this is important, and not but, right? Like, I get it. And we talked about it. 1 hour is what we had. And then the next key is give them something else. What are you redirecting them to? You can't just ask them to turn it off. Right.
That's key right there. Two things that Julia just said, if you guys are listening, I got chills. I love this. Redirecting, and it's and not but. Like, I had chills. I'm like, so the but, because the but energy and words are powerful, is a real ending kind of, not listen to me anyways kind of thing. Exactly. I love that you said that. So when you redirect them, that's where you could redirect them and say, let's go and have some good food. Like
exactly. Ideally, it's not redirecting them to go study for a test right away. So
you want to give them a pleasure point, right?
Exactly.
Like we're going to have a good dinner, and then we have your favorite.
Just a mini transition. And look, some people will be like, are you kidding me? You're spoiling the kid. If I tell them what to do, they should just do it, right? I get that feedback, and the reality is this. Yeah, I hear you. And it would be nice if they would just quickly move over to the next thing. And there are going to be some kids who can do that, but some won't. And the reality is, if you pull the, I know best, I'm the parent, what I say goes, you're going to get more resistance. It's going to actually be longer than the redirect that you would have done.
Yeah. Well, what people also don't fully understand that you and I get is when you pull that energy, you're pulling the authoritative card energy, which then triggers everybody at any age, all the bad experiences they've had, whether it's this lifetime or another lifetime, whatever you believe. But it's all the places where authoritative figures were dictating, which can irritate people because it takes away your choice and your feeling of your freedom, which we're all dealing with in the world right now. When any figure feels they have a right to tell another person by ordering, not like it's order. We see a lot of news stuff right now that's all order. Right. And that is not God energy. That's not good energy. That's not anything positive versus, okay, let's, like you said, I understand that. And when you remove that authoritative energy, it also diffuses all the other cell memories in the body that be triggered. And I think parents forget that as soon as you go in with that heavy hand, you're triggering that child's every place, every space they've experienced authoritative energy, even outside this lifetime.
Beautiful. I love that, Tracy. Yeah. Thank you for summarizing it that way. So good.
Yeah. And I think that's because that when I look at the world right now, that we don't need to have that kind of authoritative energy. We are all equal. We're just trying to get through. And these little children, even though they're little, half these little kids are much wiser than most of the parents. And we have this, don't you find we have this structure? I have chills saying this. There's this structure that's put in place because you're older, you're wiser, you listen, and that's where that authoritative comes in. But we can learn so much from listening to these children, because children, they speak truth. Go listen to a 3, 4, 5-year-old, right? They're always speaking truth, whether you like it or not. Like, I always remember my little neighbor. She was like 4 years old. She would always come in our house. She had an older sister. They were like family. And the other neighbor came out, and I came out my front door. She comes out her front door, and this little girl comes across the way, and she looks at her and she goes, "You're looking really hideous today. I think you need to go inside and have a shower." And I was like, I didn't know what to say. And the lady beside me didn't know what to say back to her, right? But, she was looking at her and she'd never seen her that way before. So she was just, in her words, whatever was spewing out. But way back then, I was saying to people, that was a long time. That was like probably 25 years ago. I said, if people really listened to the kids, we could learn so much from them, because children are free and loving. And if we're just pushing that light down, we're also pushing the expression of who they are down.
Totally. So good. It's so important, and I really want the world to see exactly that, right? I want to share that view that you have, right? Of children with everybody, because I think everybody knows it intuitively, but there's this belief about being a parent that I'm supposed to tell them what to do. Right. And that is not true. For me, if the mindset about parenting is, I've been privileged to be given these two little souls, who I get to kind of just guide. Right. So they're going to tell me what they need, and I'm just going to help them be there by being their resource and just guide them a little bit. That's it. Right. But that's it. They know what they need. They know what they want. Right. And I don't mean professionally or career wise necessarily. I mean, just as a human, right. So it's really, if you could see this as less of an attached, like they represent me, right. And detach from that, because they don't represent me. they just hang out with me. Right. Like that.
They chose you for this lifetime, and they hang out with you, and you learn
exactly
from each other, which is, that's so important, because a lot of times we don't acknowledge that. And as parents, when we do that, this is a gift. It goes back to when we find out, somebody's conceived or we've conceived, we go, oh my God, it's just this miracle. It's beautiful. It's great. And you're so excited to birth this miracle, because last I checked, no doctors putting your hands and feet on it there. It's our bodies are doing this beautiful, beautiful dance. And then the baby comes out, and it's like all these old parenting patterns come in. So I know we're already almost at the top of the hour now. I know we go so fast. We have I think about 15 minutes. I'll let my producer let me know but I want to make sure we get this in. Do you notice, because I want everyone to know about your programs coming up, because I'm so happy you're launching these. I'm so happy, because parents need these resources, and I want to be able to talk about this. Do you notice a lot of that, how we imprint from our parents, and then we become parents, and then we're imprinting that because we feel that's the way to be? Do you notice with a lot of parents that they're starting to realize that now more, and that they have to let that go?
Totally. Yes. Which is good news. Very good news. Yeah. But the reality is we're going to speak the language our parents spoke to us. Right. And the best way to sort of help everybody understand that is that if you were spoken English to when you were a baby, you speak English now. You didn't choose to speak English, right? That wasn't up to you. And so that's a really, really critical piece here, to recognize that you didn't choose it, but as an adult, what if I want to now learn Spanish, right? I can. And that's what my programs are all about, is learning Spanish, right? It's learning the language you want to learn, and learning how to release the old one. And that doesn't mean you're ever going to forget English. It's going to pop up. Yes, it does, right? It will pop up. It's just acknowledging, oh, shoot, I'm in English again. I need to switch to Spanish, right? So with, again, compassion for yourself, because that is the language you grew up with, right? So
that is a brilliant way to put it. I love you did that. Okay, I know we only have about 11 minutes. So can you tell us about the programs you've put together, because they are so important for this time of year?
Thank you. Yeah, for
And
sure.
going forward,
I
for the transition, guys.
for
It's so
sure.
important, the transition. Yes.
Totally. Yeah. So the programs themselves are I have sort of two formats of the program. One, it's called the Renewed Parent. And the reason is I provide you with videos, prep questions, or just short videos each week, because I know we have no time as parents. So they're short videos where I sort of talk about a certain theme, and I take you through a process of self-care, then self-awareness, and then self-reflection. So you're going to be moving yourself from like a skills level of chaos and screaming and all of that to being a little more like, okay, I'm aware of this, I can catch myself, I can repair, to ultimately one day getting to the Zen state where you're kind of approaching everything from that calm place that we like to be, right? And that's a process. That's not going to be like that. But I call it the Renewed Parent because by providing the videos each week, you can watch this for the rest of your life again and again as the new parent you become each round.
How many weeks is it? How many weeks do they get?
The original program is 12.
12 weeks.
Perfect. So
Perfect.
12 weeks. And what that does is enough time to have the brain imprint what it needs to imprint. Because if it's too short, the brain just won't get there. You'll be, oh, great, this is amazing. And then it'll be gone. Right. So 12 weeks actually is well known to be a long enough time to actually make changes, neurological changes in the brain to change patterns. Right. The second part of it is that you will have, so if you're in Ontario, because I'm a psychologist, I'm limited to seeing clients in Ontario. So if you're in Ontario, Canada, then you could see me like in a group setting with 6 people in it. I'm currently running a group with moms for 2 to 9-year-olds in particular, but I'll be expanding that out as we go forward. But the idea there is if you have insurance, you can get coverage for the groups, if you don't, and you want to pay out of pocket, obviously you can, but it's weekly. So you see the videos, and then for an hour a week, you meet with me and 5 other people in a really nice intimate setting where you can
They also meet with you online if they're not in Ontario. Can you do like that?
So that's exactly. So it's all online, by the way. The whole thing is online anyways. The people outside of Ontario, I've created another alternate program because I can't see you in session. So what I've done is the same video, same prep questions, 12 weeks, it's all the same, but you get 4 Q&As with me. That's in a bigger setting, like maybe 20, 30 people sort of thing, but in a Q&A. And you can email me ahead of time with your questions so I can address them and things like that. But it's not a session, it's a Q&A. So the weekly one is a little more intimate, more therapeutic in that sense, right? I can't do that, unfortunately, outside of Ontario with my license, but I want to still
look at the license board. And these are the kind of things that I'm going to say it, these institutions need to get rid of, because if you're here or we have people, like we have a ton of people in India. Okay, well, they're going through the same problems. And we have people in Dubai, we have people in Europe. They're all going through the same things. As humans, we're all going through the same things. And I just want to do a prayer that these institutions just go away, because it's like when I hear a doctor that's come from India here and can't practice. And I'm like, the body's the same there that it is here, or people that come up from the States. I'm like, it's the same. Sure, go refresh your systems. But that's my little rant, guys, today.
Yeah, no.
I'm like, why can't you? You got the training, you know what you're doing. And I do want to reiterate one thing that you did say, and I see this as well with when I do programs. And guys, this is really important what Julia said, that you have the videos for life. So it's like a membership, you have it for life. And I hear this repeatedly. Someone will say to me, I took the class, I went through, a year later, they go back and watch it and they go, oh my God, I didn't pick that up. Because remember, every time you go through her 12-week program, you're going to take a little breather maybe, and then all of a sudden you're going to go back again. Well, you've changed frequencies. You're looking at things from a new perspective. You must notice that. This is what I love about what you put together, because you can always keep going back and get something new out of what you're teaching them.
Totally, exactly. And that's, the title, Renewed Parent, Renew. You got to keep renewing like a book, right? You just keep on renewing it. So
we have the whole life. We're always renewing ourselves. We're like, who am I today? Like, none of us are who we were like even 3 months ago. So much has changed, or even a week ago, if you look, right? We change, we're changing our thoughts, our ideas, you're getting different information, then you change who you are again, your truths change.
Totally.
And you become more calm,
Totally.
you're more calm to your children, right?
Exactly.
So can I ask, is
yeah.
this program, when is it launched now? Because I know you were launching.
Starting another round.
Okay.
So I keep every 12 weeks kind of idea. I start a new round with a bit of gap. But so the next round starts September 25th is the first day. So yeah, again, sign up will all be happening. I'm just getting that all in process
25th?
and ready to go. Yeah,
Okay.
September 25th is the next round that's beginning. There's one on Saturdays at 1:30, Saturdays at 1:30, and another one on Wednesdays at 1 for the sessions one. But the one for outside of Ontario or people in Ontario who don't want to do the weekly for the 4 Q&As, that's also official start date is September 25th, but you're not as committed in terms of time. So if you want to do that one, that's available too. So they're all there.
Trip, do they get a new, you know how the progress bars go? Do they get a new video then sent to them every week, or do they kind of get them all at one time?
No, so there's a platform.
Yeah.
And as you finish one and check off and you get all these points and all these things, it's a fun platform actually.
Progress bar, I know.
Exactly.
I was like, oh, I know those ones well, but they're really good because they hold you accountable, right? Where you need to have that accountability. And I like that you built it in that way. You're not going to get the next one until you finish this one.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, people, again, because they're so short, like most of them are 15 minutes. I think one week I went a little overboard at 30, but that was it. You know, and I give you sort of questions to think about, and it really, I mean, people so far, the testimonies have been very positive, and, you know, they're seeing real change within themselves. So that's the key.
We need what you're doing in the world. And I really believe that you're part of that new movement with the rest of us. That's why you're here today, of creating all the new ways of doing it as the old ways are crumbling. And you've been setting that up and very successful at it. And you're so kind to everyone. You've got the biggest heart, and you are just such an example and a leader in your own community of helping people just get on that, you know, that new life that, you know, they're meant to be. What do you have? One, where can people find you? Because I know we're getting close here. And what do you have for some final thoughts for people listening today?
Totally. Yeah. You know, for finding me, just that email, drjuliasenparenting@gmail.com is the easiest, you know, or my website, drjuliasen.com, or at Dr. Julia Sen on Facebook. You know, it's all that stuff is all starting up now.
You can find her on my Facebook too. We can hook you all up. So if you're having a hard time, we'll make sure you find her.
Totally. Exactly. But in terms of, you know, well, one, thank you. Obviously, this was incredible. And again, it's just such a blessing to be with you and in your presence. And I just love you so much. So thank you for having me. And then for the parents, yeah, you know, really, I want to emphasize the self-compassion here, right? Making changes in our parenting is very challenging, right? It's doable. It's totally doable. And if we don't have compassion for ourselves, it's not doable. So the key here is, you know, yeah, I want to change. I'm worried about my kids. You know, I'm worried about repeating history and, you know, things like that, right? Yeah, you might do it and you're going to catch yourself. And instead of saying, oh my God, what's wrong with me? I want you to say, okay, I did it. How do I help myself and repair it? Right.
I love it.
Because the key to parenting is repair at this stage of it. Yeah. Right. Children are forgiving. And I want you to think of this one thing. If you didn't have the greatest relationship with your parents, right, as the adult, imagine now that parent, if they were able to come and tell you, hey, you know what? I forget, you know, I'm sorry for everything that I've done, right? I realize that wasn't helpful. Wouldn't you today as an adult still forgive immediately if you heard that, right? Like melt away at, you're acknowledging this, right? Like that's the repair. That's the power of repair.
That is brilliant. What a great way to leave our show today. I can't thank you enough for joining us. I know you'll come back one day here soon and join again. There's still so much to talk about, especially as fall gets moving. And again, everybody, please share this video with your friends, because whether you're on the YouTube or whether you're listening on your 90 outlets, people really need the support. And we are all coming together, people like Julia, myself, everybody else, to create communities that we can keep helping you and supporting you the best way we can. We are all equal and we're in this together. So also one last note, please don't forget to join me this Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the 31 days of prayer. And we're going to do some world prayers, which we know the world needs. 7 p.m. There is, yes, a replay, but the thing is, if you come live, it really helps. And I know for all the people that are sleeping, we're going to include you in the prayers. Don't worry. We have so many people that are sleeping and do watch the replays. You're always included in the energy, but this is time. This is transformation. And we are heading into a very heavy winter. That is our final kick at this can to make sure we have already won in the light. We're already there. So let's give more light into the world because it really can use it. So I'll see you this Thursday. Please check out Julia. All the links will be below. Have an incredible week. And next week, we'll have another Answer Your Question week on board. Lots of love, everyone. Have a great day. And thank you so much again, Julia.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Tracy L Clark Show with me, Tracy L, where I teach you how to connect to the God consciousness so you can unlock your superpowers and connect at light speed and live your extraordinary life. Tune in every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio, where together we will unlock the secrets of your body and your life. As the founder of the Body Regeneration Academy, I, Tracy L, will provide you with the insight and simple tools you can apply right now in your life to move you forward and leave the past in the dust. To join the Body Regeneration TLC Online Academy, make sure you check me out at tracylclark.com.